Woman brings long-awaited baby home. Her blind mother claims he is not her grandson. Caitlin and Finn tried to have a baby for many years and managed it in their 40s. But when she brought the baby to meet Caitlin's blind mother, the older woman shook her head, claiming something outrageous. But then something even more shocking happened later. Every parent who had to deal with infertility knows the kind of miracle it is when they finally get to hold their precious gift in their arms. That was how Caitlin felt when they finally let her hold her baby boy for the first time. Her delivery had been scary and painful, so they put her on anesthesia, and she woke 24 hours after he was born. "This is the best moment of my life," she said, tears escaping her eyes as she held the bundle in her arms and kissed him on his forehead, nose, eyes, everywhere. "Our lives," her husband, Finn, reminded her, and she laughed lightly. On their drive from the hospital, Finn remembered that they hadn't bought diapers and apologized. "Don't worry, honey, just drop me off and go buy them. Mom is there and she's probably not going to let go of this gorgeous boy," Caitlin said and turned to smile at her baby in the back seat, excited to introduce him to Aurora. The older woman was blind but completely independent, and she had raised Caitlin while slowly losing her eyesight due to a degenerative disease. She lived with them, but she was still a force of nature. She could sense things that others didn't, and even Caitlin couldn't get anything past her. She would be the best grandmother in the world, Caitlin thought. "Mom, I'm home. It's time for some grandma time," she called out. "Oh, gracious, you're here. Give me my grandchild," Aurora said from the couch. She had been knitting something with blue thread but placed it aside and extended her arms. Her hands opened and closed in Caitlin's general direction, so she rushed to give her the baby. "He is so perfect. I can't believe how much I love him. We named him Dean," she revealed, putting the baby in her mother's arms and waiting to see her marvel in delight. But that didn't happen. Aurora froze while holding the baby. "Mom, what's wrong? Are you okay?" "Caitlin, the older woman stumbled with her words and started shaking her hands. One finger went up and touched the baby's forehead gently. "This is not your baby. Go back to the hospital." "What? Mom, that's insane," Caitlin said, shocked. "Smell him. It'll calm you. I know this is new and unexpected, but that's our baby." The older woman didn't want to listen. She shook her head and she extended her arms to return the baby. "That's not my grandson. Something happened at the hospital. Go find out." Caitlin's eyes watered, but this time she was in heartbreak. She couldn't believe her mother's reaction. This was so odd. She grabbed her son and held him tightly, not understanding this rejection and feeling a huge need to scream. After all the pain, anxiety, hormone imbalances, and desperation in every disappointing negative pregnancy test, she finally had her baby, and her own mother didn't want him. "Mom, please," she sobbed. Hello, ladies, I'm back." "Oh wait, I'm not the only man in the house anymore, am I? We have our little Dean," Finn said brightly, entering through the front door. He had rushed to the store for diapers and drove back quickly to experience the first moments with their baby in their home. But his smile faded when he sensed the tension in the room. "What's going on? Caitlin, is there something wrong with the baby?" Before she could answer, Aurora interrupted. "That baby is not my grandson. You must go back to the hospital now." Finn's eyes widened in shock. "Aurora, please calm down," he started, but Caitlin ran with the baby into their bedroom and he followed. He thought he would never have to reveal the truth. He had heard stories about Aurora's senses but never believed them. The older woman was wise and not entirely wrong. He saw his wife crying desperately with the baby in her arms on their bed, and his heart broke for the second time in the last few days. He had hoped to save some pain, but it was time to reveal the truth. "Can you believe her? I don't understand," Caitlin wailed and started rocking the baby as the tears continued to flow. "Caitlin, there's something I have to tell you," Finn said, and his wife raised her eyes to his. "Something happened at the hospital when you were asleep from the anesthesia." The truth Finn had tried to hide was that their baby died during childbirth, and it was a heartbreak Caitlin would not have been able to endure. Finn also died from the pain, and the thought of having to tell her when she woke was unbearable to him. After all the hard work she went through in her pregnancy, it didn't seem fair. Some firemen had brought a baby boy that had been surrendered at the station, and he saw the nurses and doctors tending to him. He thought that baby needed parents. When the social worker came, he talked to her immediately, explaining their situation and wondering if they could adopt him somehow. To his shock, the kind social worker agreed, and they registered him and Caitlin as the baby's parents. "It's highly unusual, but I will make an exception this time because the system is so full," the social worker said, and Finn couldn't believe his luck. His tears had escaped after finishing the story, but Caitlin had stopped crying by then. "Oh my God," she breathed. Her tears flowed again when the reality sunk in that the baby she had carried for months was gone. Although she loved the baby she was holding, she needed a moment to mourn the precious one she had loved and lost. After some silent minutes, Finn spoke up and wiped his face. "I'm glad I told you. I thought I could keep this a secret, but it's so much better this way. He is our son, though. He's ours now, officially. It must have been God's plan because he appeared only an hour after we lost our baby. I will always mourn him, of course, but we have to love this little one now." Caitlin interrupted him, placing her hand on his arm. "You did the right thing. You just need to tell Mom the truth because she must be sick with worry out there." Finn nodded and went to the living room to explain everything to Aurora, who cried at the news. "Oh dear, I thought my instincts were wrong, but I knew something was odd," the older woman said. "But Aurora, he is our son, real son now," Finn insisted. They had adopted him, even in this sneaky secret way. He was their child. "I understand that. What I sensed was so confusing that I just panicked, and I'm so sorry about that. You can tell Caitlin to bring him up so I can properly meet my grandson again," Aurora requested, and Finn finally smiled. Caitlin entered the living room and placed the baby back in her mother's arms. This time, it was as beautiful as she had imagined.